Wooden houses survived brutal winters long before modern HVAC systems, vapor barriers, or electric fans. They did not survive by sealing themselves tight. They survived by breathing in a controlled, deliberate way. This guide explains the cold weather ventilation method that kept wooden homes dry, structurally sound, and livable in freezing climates, and how that same logic can still be applied today by anyone who cares about durability, moisture control, or off-grid resilience. Cold air movement was managed, not blocked. Traditional wooden homes in cold regions were never airtight boxes. Builders understood that moisture was the real enemy, not cold air itself. Warm indoor air always carries moisture, and when that moisture becomes trapped inside walls, attics, or floors during winter, it condenses and rots wood from the inside out. The solution was slow, continuous ventilation that allowed damp air to escape without stripping heat from living spaces. Homes were built to allow cold, dry air to enter low and exit high. This movement was gentle and constant. Floor cavities, crawl spaces, wall gaps, and roof structures were all designed to let air circulate even in deep winter. The goal was not comfort, but preservation. The attic airflow system was the first line of defense. Attics were never treated as sealed spaces. In cold climates, they were deliberately vented to the outside through small openings at the eaves and near the roof peak. This prevented warm indoor air from settling in the attic, where it would otherwise melt snow on the roof. That melted snow would refreeze at the eaves, creating ice dams that forced water back into the structure. By keeping the attic nearly as cold as the outside air, snow stayed frozen, and moisture never had a chance to seep into the wood. At the same time, any damp air that did enter the attic was carried out before it could condense on rafters or roof boards. A modern homeowner can still apply this by ensuring attic ventilation remains open year-round even in winter, resisting the temptation to block vents to, keep heat in. Heat belongs in the living space, not in the attic. Raised floors allowed buildings to dry from below. Many wooden homes were built slightly elevated above the ground, even in snowy regions. This was not aesthetic. Cold ground releases moisture upward, and if a floor sat directly on damp soil, rot would begin silently. Builders left space beneath floors so cold air could move freely and dry the underside of the structure. Vent openings around the foundation allowed winter air to sweep moisture away. This worked because cold air holds less moisture than warm air. As it passed under the house, it absorbed dampness from wood and soil and carried it away. The same principle applies today in cabins, sheds, and off-grid builds. A ventilated crawl space, even in winter, often preserves wood better than a sealed one unless modern vapor control is flawlessly installed. Wall cavities were never meant to be airtight. Older wooden walls were not packed tight with insulation. They often contained empty cavities that allowed slow air movement. While this seems inefficient by modern energy standards, it prevented moisture buildup. Any vapor that entered the wall could migrate outward instead of becoming trapped. Now in cold weather, this outward drying was really essential. Interior moisture from things like cooking, heating, and even just breathing would always find its way into the walls. The ventilation path gave all that moisture a way out. These days, folks restoring historic homes often end up damaging them by oversealing walls without really thinking about vapor flow. Applying this old logic means you gotta pair insulation with proper ventilation gaps, or use vapor-permeable materials that actually let things dry out. Windows and shutters played a, seasonal role. Winter ventilation wasn't just constant open windows. Instead, wooden homes relied on timed air exchange. Windows would be opened briefly during the coldest, driest parts of the day, usually morning, to flush damp air out. Then shutters were closed to help keep the heat in. This short ventilation cycle replaced moisture-laden indoor air with dry, cold air that warmed up quickly once inside. The result was lower indoor humidity without long-term heat loss. This practice is still effective today. A brief daily winter airing, even for just 5 minutes, can really reduce condensation and mold risk in modern homes. Fireplaces were not just for heat. They created an upward draft that pulled stale air out of the home. Builders understood that a small, controlled air leak was necessary to replace the air being drawn up the chimney. Rather than sealing every crack, homes allowed air to enter through floors, walls, and entryways, creating a slow circulation pattern. This kept moisture moving instead of stagnant. Modern wood stove users can apply this by ensuring proper makeup air sources rather than sealing a house completely, which can force moisture into walls and ceilings. Steep roof pitches were common in snowy regions, but not only to shed snow. The shape encouraged airflow beneath roof boards. Cold air entering at the eaves traveled upward and exited near the ridge, keeping roof structures dry all winter. This airflow protected wooden shingles, rafters, and beams from decay. Even without modern membranes, these roofs often lasted decades longer than expected because they stayed dry. Anyone building or restoring today can honor this approach by maintaining airflow channels beneath roofing materials instead of compressing insulation tightly against roof boards. The real lesson is that cold weather ventilation was never just one feature. It was a coordinated system that respected airflow, moisture behavior, and wood's natural limits. Builders did not fight winter. They worked with it. Applying this knowledge today means understanding where moisture is produced, where it travels, and, well, how to give it an escape path without sacrificing comfort. Whether you live in a historic home, a modern house, or a remote cabin, this logic remains unchanged. Wood survives when it can dry. Cold air, when properly directed, is not the enemy. Trapped moisture is. If you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep practical history like this, subscribe to Wisdom for the Journey and share this with others who care about how things were truly built to last.